For over a century, Teotihuacan stood as archaeology's most confounding paradox, the largest city in the ancient Americas. Yet its builders remained utterly anonymous, unlike the Maya, with their hieroglyphic records carved into stone, unlike the Aztecs, with their painted codices documenting every king and conquest. The people who created this metropolis of 200,000 souls left behind something almost impossible to comprehend. No known writing, no ruler portraits, no ethnic identity whatsoever. Imagine that. A city larger than Rome at its peak, and we don't even know what they called themselves. But here's what makes this story extraordinary. Ancient DNA has begun revealing what centuries of excavation could not, and what scientists discovered challenges everything we thought we knew about the ancient world. Let me take you back to October 2023. A Japanese research team, led by Dr. Fuzuki Mizuno at Toho University School of Medicine, published something that sent shockwaves through the archaeological community. They had achieved what many considered impossible, extracting the first complete mitochondrial genome sequences from ancient Teotihuacan people, 6 individuals, dated between 250 and 636 CE. Their genetic code preserved against all odds. Now, you might be thinking, why is this such a big deal? Here's why. The Teotihuacan region is one of the worst places on Earth for preserving ancient DNA. The climate, highly fluctuating temperature and humidity, and the volcanic ash soil that acts like acid on organic material. Previous studies in comparable Mesoamerican sites managed to extract only 0.063% to 1.29% of usable DNA. Think about that. Less than 2% survival rate. But Dr. Mizuno's team succeeded, and what they found in those 6 genetic blueprints was just the beginning. The DNA revealed something profound. All 6 individuals carried Native American founding lineages, haplogroups A2, B2, and D1. These are genetic signatures that trace back thousands of years to the very first people who crossed into the Americas during the Ice Age. But here's where it gets fascinating. These ancient Teotihuacanos belong to something called the Centro-Mesoamerican genetic cluster, one of 2 major population groupings among indigenous Mesoamerican peoples. And this placement, this genetic fingerprint, told scientists something they'd only theorized about before. The builders of Teotihuacan were not mysterious outsiders. They were not foreign conquerors from across the sea. They were the organic outgrowth of central Mexico's indigenous history. But the 2023 study was only the opening chapter. In February 2025, another bombshell dropped. A team analyzing the Oaxacan barrio, a specific neighborhood within Teotihuacan, discovered something that rewrote our understanding of how this city actually functioned. They found genetic diversity arranged in distinct spatial patterns around the famous Street of the Dead, higher B-type haplogroups in the northeast, types dominating the west and east, C-types concentrated in the south, D-types in the Midwest. This wasn't random. This was organized urbanism, ethnic neighborhoods preserved in DNA. And suddenly, one of Teotihuacan's central mysteries had an answer. This was not a city of one people. It was a city of many. Think about what that means. In 250 CE, while Rome was still consolidating its empire, Teotihuacan was operating as a genuinely multi-ethnic metropolis. Different peoples, different languages, different traditions, all living together in the shadow of the Pyramid of the Sun. Let me give you specifics. In 2015, Dr. Linda Manzanilla's team at UNAM analyzed 29 individuals from the Teopancasco neighborhood. What they found was stunning. All 4 Amerindian mtDNA haplogroups were present, with diversity levels matching or exceeding modern heterogeneous Mexican communities. But it wasn't just random mixing. The Oaxacan barrio, also called Tlailotlacan, was home to people genetically closest to northwestern Zapotecs, from over 100 kilometers away. And here's what's remarkable. This community maintained genetic isolation for centuries. The DNA showed continuity between pre-Columbian and colonial periods, despite later Aztec occupation. They preserved their identity, generation after generation. Then there's the Maya presence. Studies of 3 apartment compounds revealed genetic evidence of Mayan integration, particularly from Xcaret in Yucatan. The statistical significance was undeniable. These weren't occasional visitors, these were residents. And the proof? Strontium isotope analysis. By comparing strontium ratios in tooth enamel, which records where you spent your childhood, versus bone, which records where you lived as an adult, researchers proved that many individuals were born outside the Teotihuacan Valley. Immigration wasn't a one-time event. It was continuous, throughout the city's 700-year existence. But DNA wasn't the only thing the bones revealed. The same skeletal remains unlocked dietary secrets through stable isotope analysis. And what they found tells us exactly what it meant to live in Teotihuacan. The people ate maize, Lots of it. Carbon isotope values placed them squarely in the staple maize diet zone. At least 70% of their diet derived from corn, with at least 50% of protein coming from maize-based sources. Corn tortillas, tamales, atole, day after day, year after year. This wasn't just preference, this was civilization defining. Large-scale corn agriculture shaped Teotihuacan's rise, its sustainability, and possibly its fall. But there's more. Oxygen isotope analysis added details impossible to detect through genetics alone. At the Feathered Serpent Pyramid, scientists analyzed 41 sacrificial victims. They identified individuals from at least 4 different geographic regions: Gulf Coast, Maya lowlands, distant valleys. And here's what stunned researchers. Many of these sacrificed soldiers had lived in Teotihuacan for prolonged periods before death. They weren't freshly captured enemies. They were long-term residents, perhaps recruited foreign mercenaries, perhaps assimilated warriors who'd made this city their home. They lived among the people, then died for the gods. Despite all these breakthroughs, fundamental questions remain unanswered. Who ruled this empire? Unlike every other major Mesoamerican civilization, Teotihuacan left no readable texts, no identified rulers, no dynastic records. The governing system remains, in the words of one scholar, largely elusive. No confirmed royal burials have yielded DNA that might reveal a ruling lineage. And then, around 550 to 650 CE, something catastrophic happened. The city burned, but not randomly, not everywhere. Elite residential compounds along the Avenue of the Dead were systematically destroyed, burned, desecrated, while common dwellings were largely spared. This selective targeting points to one chilling conclusion: internal rebellion, perhaps the hungry and oppressed rising against rulers who failed them. Climate records show devastating droughts around 535 to 536 CE crops failing, water running dry. And when the people looked to their leaders for salvation, what did they find? We may never know. But the archaeological evidence speaks clearly. Someone was very, very angry. The population crashed. From 125,000 to 200,000 down to perhaps 40,000. And unlike the Maya, unlike the Aztecs, no group claimed Teotihuacan heritage. One scholar put it bluntly: no one knows where the ancient Teotihuacanos went. Unlike Mayans and Aztecs, who continue to live among us with their habits and practices, Teotihuacanos completely disappeared from the surface of the earth. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. DNA tells a different story. The genetic lineages didn't vanish. They dispersed. They persisted. Statistical comparisons show no significant genetic differences between ancient Teotihuacan residents and modern Otomi populations, or Nahua populations, or Maya from Yucatan. Modern Mexican indigenous communities maintain haplogroup frequencies remarkably similar to ancient Teotihuacan. Present-day Mexico shows A equals 50%, B equals 24%, C equals 18%, D equals 8%, compared to ancient Teotihuacanos A equals 55%, B equals 21%, C equals 17%, D equals 7%. The people didn't disappear, they just walked away. And their children and their children's children are living in Mexico today. Several recent discoveries have overturned long-held assumptions. In 2022, scientists analyzed a spider monkey that was sacrificed around 250 to 300 CE. DNA revealed it was a subspecies native exclusively to Maya tropical forests. Isotope analysis of its teeth showed it was captured around age 3 in a moist lowland habitat, then lived in captivity at Teotihuacan for over 2 years. Its diet shifted from wild fruits to maize, chili peppers, and arrowroot. What does that tell us? Diplomatic gift exchange? Peaceful relations between Maya dignitaries and Teotihuacan that preceded later military conflicts. At the Moon Pyramid, 3 individuals dated to 350 CE wore greenstone pendants symbolizing Maya rulership. Isotope signatures indicated Maya lowland origins, Maya royalty among the sacrifice victims. Yet the Feathered Serpent Pyramid showed a completely different pattern. Those victims had lived locally for years. They weren't recently captured enemies, and some were women, not just male warriors as researchers initially assumed. Every answer raises new questions. The 2025 Oaxacan Barrio study revealed genetic isolation that persisted across centuries. The community remained closer to northwestern Zapotecs than to their Teotihuacan neighbors. No mtDNA differentiation between sexes, suggesting endogamous marriage practices. They maintained ethnic identity, despite living in a cosmopolitan city. And then, in early 2025, came perhaps the most dramatic development yet. University of Copenhagen researchers announced in Current Anthropology that Teotihuacan's painted symbols constitute a genuine writing system. recording Proto-Caracal Nahua, an early form of Uto-Aztecan language ancestral to Nahuatl. If confirmed, this suggests the Aztec language family was at Teotihuacan from its founding. The mysterious builders may have been ancestors of people we know very well, but significant gaps remain. No genome-wide nuclear DNA studies have been successfully completed. Researchers still rely entirely on mitochondrial DNA, which traces only maternal lineages. Sample sizes remain small, 6 to 40 individuals per study, due to preservation challenges. The identity of rulers, the precise mechanism of collapse, the fate of survivors, all require larger datasets and whole genome sequencing that advancing technology may soon provide. The Plaza of the Columns bone pit awaits DNA analysis, filled with dismembered human skeletons, some showing Maya cranial shaping, a massacre, a bone workshop, something else entirely. And the question lingers, in a city where 200,000 people lived for 700 years, why has only one confirmed royal burial area, still looted and unidentified, ever been found? After a century of silence, ancient DNA has given voice to Teotihuacan's forgotten inhabitants. They were not one mysterious people, they were many. Zapotecs maintaining Oaxacan traditions in Tlailotlacan, Maya merchants and possibly captives in distinct quarters, Gulf Coast traders at Teopancasco, and a Central Mexican majority whose genetic signatures place them squarely within the Central Mesoamerican cluster. They ate predominantly maize. They migrated continuously throughout the city's existence. They maintained ethnic identities across generations. And they left genetic descendants who walk Mexico today. The 2023 Mizuno study's complete metagenomes represent just the beginning. As preservation techniques improve, as whole genome sequencing becomes feasible for Mesoamerican remains, the genetic record may finally answer questions that stone and pottery cannot. Who ruled this empire? Why did it burn? And how did 200,000 people become invisible to history, while their DNA lived on in their descendants? When the Aztecs arrived 700 years after Teotihuacan's fall and named it Teotihuacan, the place where gods were created, they were closer to truth than they knew. The creators weren't gods, they were human beings whose mitochondrial lineages still pulse through veins across Mexico. The mystery isn't that they vanished. The mystery is that we ever thought they did. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into ancient DNA and forgotten civilizations, consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and sharing your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, farewell.